Hello, folks. Just recording a demo in case I get hit by a truck or something. So it's good to be prepared. Today, I'm showing entirely external tools that have nothing to do with my company. They're just showing what I call vibrant coding. You can take a look on my site, my YouTube site. There's a lot of friends who I work with around the world that are doing this as well. And so the first prompt is this one. And if you want to see the prompts, just go ahead and pause the video. But the idea is that I'm trying to build, uh, based on the last 60, 70, 80, 90 years of great engineering, how do we take Redbooks and NIST and Agile and ISO and best coding practices and Kaggle and all the things we know and turn them into a checklist? And I'm starting with Perplexity Pro. That is the least hallucinogenic and probably the most useful tool to use. Everything I'm using here is paid for personally. It's all my data. None of my company's data is here. So I said, do a bunch of things. One of them is use the lab function to create the answer to this question, okay, which is a long answer to the question, which I'm going to export to Markdown or PDF or whatever. I've already done that. And by the way, I love that Perplexity just added the ability to generate an app. So it built a core app that helps me think about all of the Dora and other principles around scale and agile and Azure well architected and ISO and NIST and all of that. So I can then take that and I can convert it to a page, which will make it public, so not my goal, or I can export it as a PDF or Markdown. That Markdown is key when I'm using with these other tools. The next thing I'm going to do is go to Claude Code. And what I'm saying to Claude Code is, hey, I hired a different company, in this case, Perplexity, to create a checklist manifesto for amazing, vibrant coding. Can you check the output and make it more complete and smarter? And then it said, well, sure, I can do a better job because, again, generative AI, the feature is the bug, remember. We have to own all of our own content or ideas. But the nice thing here is it gives me all of the content, and then it says, hey, I think this is what the document should look like, but also here's the interactive artifact or demo that you might want to look at. So here's the design, the Dora metrics, some of the other best practices, right? And it also looks at maybe what are the analytics, how you doing overall. And I said, wow, that's kind of cool. Um, let's take that manifesto and export it over to OpenAI. And I said to OpenAI, to the 4 or 5 model, hey, I had Perplexity and Claude create this, but can you think more deeply about it? By the way, think more deeply is a pretty important phrase here in generative AI. And so it said, sure. And by the way, I really liked the thinking that it did. It said, engineering is a living ecosystem. Vibrant is human AI symbiosis. I'm not sure I don't know if I like the symbiosis notion, but I really like this, the narrative of the day in the life. So Jaya, a front-end engineer, logs into her platform. Her assistant, Prompta, has summarized telemetry, accessibility issues, refactored slow components. Her pair bots, right? And this, by the way, is very much the thinking about Devin and Agentic and other stuff that we'll talk about more in future videos. So it's a pretty interesting notion of not just starting in the middle of the story, which is what vibe coding is, but really thinking about the prepend and best engineering practices. So I really like that. I think that's really smart. And I've tried to cover the world as well as I can. But again, letting other AI thinking tools think for you is good. Then I took Gemini 2.5 Pro, just as a reminder, these are all paid, but this is a reasoning math and code model. And it said, well, I like it, but maybe you can make it more actionable, a little more human centric and adaptable. Yeah, it's okay. I didn't really like the output that much, but it was okay. I do like, by the way, because Google is very focused on Dora, they thought about the KPI framework. And then I said, well, let's take all of that thinking and go into um, a I'm using what's called Google LLM Notebook, and I'm saying, um,
Answer number one ready for you after we wrap up.
so I actually took these documents, took some other documents, did a search, and then I said,
And
have
that
these
ties
two
right into
avatars.
our
So I'm saying,
discussion today. Hey, yeah, what's up?
Hey, could you remind me kind of what the top benefit to vibe coding is and kind of why we think that vibe rant is maybe a better approach? Very briefly, maybe in 100 words or less.
That's a great follow-up question and a good way to reinforce those key differences.
Absolutely. Let's nail that down for you again.
The top benefit of vibe coding, in a nutshell, is lightning speed prototyping.
It's all about rapidly turning an idea into a functional piece of code.
One of our sources even mentioned a 100x speed up for initial concepts.
It really lowers the barrier for non-coders to create software.
Now, when it comes to Vibrant, it's considered a better approach because it's a holistic methodology.
It's not just about one coding technique.
It's designed to build high-performing, sustainable, and inclusive development organizations.
So Vibrant focuses on developer satisfaction, reducing burnout,
And carefully integrating AI for better, more reliable outcomes.
while vibe coding is a tool for speed. Vibrant is a strategy for long-term health.
It ensures that rapid development doesn't lead to massive tech debt or security issues.
It's the difference between a quick sprint and building a resilient marathon runner.
And that ties right into our discussion today.
Because we're going to dive into a fascinating and, frankly, potentially risky new trend.
We've already touched on the broader implications of AI in software delivery.
So that is a way to kind of introduce the concept. And then I took my concept, I said sort of improved the ideas, and then I put them into Gamma and said, what is it? And I would call it the engineering, evolution of engineering practices, excellence, right? Um, really thinking about human-centric adaptive intelligence. We to use AI well, we have to know kind of how to prompt it and how to use it. Um, and again, I think it's also interesting to think about transcendent. There are some AI coders that are now in the top 1/10 of 1% of all coders in the world, but there's a lot of bad code out there. So just thinking about how we do measures and metrics, right? And then also how we think about kind of the roadmap to how we think we might do a case study or other things. So then I said to a couple different tools. I like Lovable, V0, Bolt, and a bunch of others. So I said to Lovable, hey, can you write an app based on these documents? And so it said, sure, I'll go ahead and do that. And so I can show that in a preview. I can show that in full screen if I want to. Um, and this gives me an assessment that I can start. This is code that's running. By the way, it's just demo code just for this purpose, but I have it in my GitHub repository personally. I would not put this in a GM, a GitHub repository, but that's kind of my first demo. Then the second is Bolt. So I'm going to go ahead and show that in a full screen. And I'm exploring the framework. I can take an assessment. I can look at a KPI dashboard. I can look at my excellence engine here, right? Flow state, a bunch of things. And again, the idea is that the community can build conversations around these things, and we can do vibe coding together. That's something that we do. So Sneha and I and Masha and Reed and a bunch of other folks are getting together to talk about agentic architectures, and this might be a way we do it. Remember, if we have all non, if we have all public data about our company, there's nothing limiting us using these tools. Just remember, we never put any corporate data into these tools. Um, I, by the way, really like Perplexity. I like Windsurf and Copilot, GitHub, and a bunch of other tools. But I like, um, I particularly like, sorry, Replit because Replit allows me to do a bunch of things that I don't have to work as hard for, frankly, and as in some of the other tools. Now, I know there was a big leak and a big article in the press about how bad this tool was with someone's code. By the way, all of this code is dangerous. Okay. The one rule always has to be with generative AI, the feature is the bug. So if I ask someone to generate a picture of a cat or generate code for me, remember, I own it. I own the risk. I am the creator. Human oversight is very important when we come to design and architecture and stuff. But kind of a cool app here. It says, what's our maturity assessment? What are our DORA metrics? We can also start building agents and agentic architectures. I think hopefully we can come back next week or next month at the demo days and actually talk about something that we're doing in a front room around agentic architectures. Thanks to John and the leadership team, we've gotten some time with Sneha leading that effort with my help and with Gabrielle's help. And so I could even, by the way, take a demo of what this thing does, right? And this was all created by prompts. So love to talk more about this. My schedule is open. I'd love to help chat about it. I'm right at 10 minutes and 40 seconds. So hopefully this has been useful, and I'll take your questions. Thanks.